Okay, we're going to talk about the Superstar Shakeup, and I'm going to do this over the course of two videos this week. I don't think I'll get to SmackDown in this video. I think I'm just going to do Raw first, then do another one for SmackDown because there's kind of a lot that happened. This is one of the bigger shows of the year. I feel like I'm already forgetting some people that got officially put on Raw. People that they didn't make a big deal about at the time would include EC3. It was not made a big deal of they didn't really go out of their way to tell you he was going to be on the show. And then I believe it said Ricochet and Aleister Black as well have been confirmed, though it wasn't confirmed on the show that they're also moving to Raw full time. We have oh man, I feel like there's somebody else that they didn't make a big deal about on the actual show who's moving over to Raw. Okay, so it was Naomi, Eric Young, and Cedric Alexander were the other ones that I don't. I'm forgetting it if they made a big deal out of the fact that they were specifically coming from Raw over to, or the various shows they were on. They weren't all on SmackDown and moving over to Raw. Some of them obviously were 205 Live and NXT and the like. But those are the ones that are officially on Raw now that they didn't make a big deal out of on the show, from what I can remember. So Raw opens with Shane and Steph, and they're in the ring, and they're talking about the Superstar Shakeup. And this is a little weird. This is a little weird because it gives the impression that maybe this is how the night is going to go. We're going to get people coming out to kind of make a kind of like if you've ever watched something like the NFL draft or coverage of NFL free agency or anything like that, and you have sometimes interviews with like GMs from teams or guys that are familiar with the people making personnel decisions. And analysts and all this stuff. And it felt for a minute like maybe that was what we were going to get. And it wasn't. So, I don't want to like spoil the way the rest of the show would go before I get a chance to even get there and talk about it. But this is the only time we're going to see Shane and Steph. This is the only time we're going to see a McMahon or an authority figure or anybody who you think has any authority to like speak on the process. Yeah, I feel like the WWE has a really cool concept on their hands with the Superstar Shakeup, and in the past, from what I understand, has had some cool graphics to go along with it and more of a draft system. And while I understand that you wouldn't want to just kind of like tear the whole thing apart and move everybody all over the place, because then it's not really like you're getting new people in an old place, because everything's different now. So that kind of maybe could take away from some of, oh, what if Samoa Joe is on Raw? Well, what if he is on Raw, but half the people on Raw now are people he was on SmackDown with? So now, so you can kind of get where like tearing the whole thing apart maybe is not the most effective way to create change. It certainly would create change, but maybe not the most appreciable change. So I don't think there's anything wrong with the number of people that they switch around or anything like that. I just felt like they could do with trying to make this feel a little bit more like a free agency or a draft, or a little bit more intrigue about where certain people are going to wind up. I mean, maybe they should have. Maybe I think in all something like 20 people throughout Raw and SmackDown get switched around in the 2 days of the Superstar Shakeup. So maybe there should have been a pool of 30 eligible, and had those 30, so we couldn't know for sure who was going to move. We would know that 20 of those 30 eligible free agents would be picked up by a different show. That just seems to make a lot more sense than, as far as building intrigue and building a storyline into this a little bit, that seems to make more sense than what we get. I mean, and that list could literally come out. We have the Raw after WrestleMania and then the Superstar Shakeup, and those lists could come out on the Raw after WrestleMania and the SmackDown after WrestleMania very, very easily without any kind of special friggin' effort here. So anyway, Shane and Steph, they come out and they're telling us about the Superstar Shakeup. And in the process of telling us about the Superstar Shakeup, Shane is doing his thing that he's been doing lately. His I think it's awesome, actually. Heel work, where he comes out and he was taunting the crowd. He was taunting the ring announcer again, whose name I can never, Mike Rome, maybe. Just taunting this dude, taunting this poor guy. And then he wants it in French, and the best in the world, he wants that said in French. And Mike Rome's, I don't speak French, man. And so Shane starts saying it in French, and then he says, well, it's not really French. The French I speak is pure Parisian French. These Quebecers, they speak this dirty mixture of this dirty, version of French or whatever he says, and classic stuff there. I mean, sometimes I think it gets a little old, but not Shane as a heel. Shane as a heel has been, I mean, can anybody argue that this has been anything but really good? Some people maybe thought that The Miz should have been the heel in that situation. He should have turned on Shane. I disagree. I think The Miz's face work has been good, and I think that Shane's heel work's been good. I really don't think I'd change anything between these two right now. So they're about to announce the first. Oh, and also the way the crowd when this Montreal crowd was really good, and the way that the good crowds will chant CM Punk back at Shane when he does his best in the world thing. You couldn't ask for anything better. I mean, that's almost like if the guys at Creative were doing their jobs right, this is exactly what they wanted to happen. They wanted to have Punk's name dragged into this whole thing. It's real good. It's good heat. It feels natural too, which is also cool. It doesn't feel too incredibly contrived. Anyway, they're about to announce the first person who will be switching brands, and in the process of that, the Miz's music just hits, and Shane kind of gets Stephanie out of the ring, and then the Miz shows up, and it looks maybe for a bit, I think at first, like Shane is getting the best of the Miz, but then the Miz is absolutely getting the best of Shane and finishes him off with a steel chair, and then the Miz is bleeding and shit, and the Miz is a babyface. The Miz is on Raw. He's the first dude switching brands. I don't really have a problem with it so long as we don't just get, oh, the Miz is the guy who hosts Miz TV on Raw, and that's it. Like, as long as we don't get that, and we get and not just a complete continuation of this feud with Shane either. Shane's got to bring somebody else into this. Shane has got to I have too many responsibilities over on SmackDown to be on Raw every week. So I am going to enlist somebody, one of the heels on Raw. I'm going to enlist their help to, in the name of Shane McMahon, and maybe in a little bit of an alliance with Shane McMahon, and maybe we can get some cool tag matches where the Miz teams with one of Raw's baby faces against Shane McMahon and one of Raw's heels. I'm not trying to write the whole next couple months of the show for them before it happens. I'm just saying that that could be cool. I don't want to see a complete paint by numbers continuation of the feud we've already seen on SmackDown between these two that I thought ended pretty well if it had ended at WrestleMania, it would have been a good place that it ended, and it would have ended okay. It would have ended good as far as I'm concerned. Not the ending I wanted, but a good ending, maybe better than the ending I wanted from like a drama standpoint. I would like to see almost like a when you're reading a comic book and Batman is got beef with the Joker and that kind of gets resolved, but their stuff is never really resolved. Maybe the Joker's got to go into hiding for a little bit, and instead Batman is now fighting. He's got Bane is causing trouble in Gotham, and Batman's got to fight Bane. But then 4 or 5 issues into that 6-issue arc, you find out that Bane has been working for the Joker the whole time. That's the kind of thing I'm getting at with this Shane McMahon thing. I think that the Shane McMahon feud can continue so long as we get somebody else for the Miz to fight on TV and somebody else's character and emotions to rope into the story. And I think it can be really good. Let's see. So we have the Revival. They're coming out, and we're going to get an 8-man tag team match. And I don't even remember really what happened in this match. All I know is I saw the War Raiders come out, and I got really excited. And then they called them the Viking Experience. And I almost quit watching. I almost turned it off. As soon as I saw that the War Raiders were now going to be called the Viking Experience, which I've heard and seen people so upset about. What are you doing? You're going to take a... First of all, they're the NXT Tag Team Champions. And if you weren't going to keep them on NXT, at the very least, you could have given those belts to somebody else other than Aleister Black and Ricochet. That should not have been who won the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic leading up to NXT TakeOver. That just shouldn't have been who won. We should have had a different team, whether it was a babyface team or a heel team. Doesn't matter. Could have been the Forgotten Sons for all I care. Just somebody else to have those tag team belts over on NXT. If you're going to take the War Raiders off anyways, but they're the NXT Tag Team Champions. When they came out, they did not have the belts with them. They should have had the belts with them. Whether they are currently primarily focused on that wrestling promotion or not, they are the current NXT Tag Team Champions. And if WWE wants NXT to matter, and I do believe that they do, they need to get that brand on regular TV as much as possible so that people who pay their $10.99 for the WWE network just so they can get the pay-per-views and never watch NXT actually get to see what some of the belts look like. They get reminded of the fact that it even exists in the first place. So they don't have the belts. They aren't even called the War Raiders anymore. They're called the Viking Experience. And it's just, I just don't. I'd love to say that I don't give a shit, but I do. I do give a shit. I really give a shit. And this is really pissing me off. I got real things going on in my life, and I'm mad about what a freaking tag team is called. But it was a good tag team. It was maybe my favorite tag team. And not only that, not only changing the name of their team from the War Raiders to the Viking Experience, which I don't even want to get into the fact that they were called War Machine before they were called the War Raiders. There's a lot of reasons you can't call a team War Machine. There was that MMA dude that like beat up his porn star girlfriend and he's in jail for it or whatever, or maybe he murdered her even. I don't want to say exactly what the dude did. Look it up. It's not, other than he did something terrible, it's not terribly important to me what he did, right? Some sort of act of either incredibly extreme or just run-of-the-mill terrible domestic violence. And not only that, a Marvel character. So you really kind of can't use the name War Machine. I get that. War Raiders, the War Raiders, that War Raiders was not the best name in the world either, but it was the one that we were used to, and it had something to do with the heritage and gimmick that these guys have without like literally hitting you over the freaking head with the damn thing, with this Viking Experience crap, which is not only is it like really, really, really heavy-handed, it's corny as shit. But it's real heavy-handed too, and the War Raiders, I could have some of this like conflated with other European pre-Roman tribe peoples. Like I'm not trying to. Could have been the Celts or something like that, I guess is what I'm saying, that I have it confused with. But the War Raiders, at least to me, was similar to like Berserkers. It had something to do with their kind of Viking roots and aesthetic and stuff like that. Like I said, without being like super heavy-handed. And this is I'm getting all worked up, and I guess I really don't need to. Either way, the War Raiders, now called the Viking Experience, will be on Raw, and they're teamed up with the Revival in this match, so they're going to make them heels, which I don't get. I don't get that booking whatsoever. Anyway, we get a cool match, though, next between Andrade and Finn Balor. Pardon me. And this is how it's going to go. This is how we're finding out who's moving one brand to another, is they just come out for a match and the announcers go, "Oh my God, is Andrade on Raw now?" And yeah, he is. Yeah, he is. And there's no more fanfare or intrigue about it than just out comes a Raw superstar to waiting around for a match, and out comes a SmackDown superstar to face him, and that was it. That was pretty much it. So we get Andrade versus Finn Balor. Andrade is coming to Raw, and I had a feeling at the end of this match, the way it ended, which was a halfway decent back and forth match. I don't think the matches are really the point tonight, and I think that they all were kind of like quick, to be honest with you. But we have a decent back and forth match. I'm certain that these two are capable of doing better together. But the way it ended, Zelina Vega did a hit a Rana on Finn Balor outside the ring from off of the ring apron, and it was a cool spot while the ref was dealing with a slightly injured maybe Andrade, and Zelina Vega came and hit Finn with this move, and Andrade puts him back in the ring and pins him, and it gives you the feeling that we're going to get an Andrade Finn Balor program going forward. Spoiler. Pause it. Skip ahead 10 seconds. We won't be getting that. That's not the program we're getting. SmackDown show has some cool moves and some surprises in it. Cool moves and surprises for sure, but I'm trying not to get into too much of that right now. This was a decent match. Made me feel like we should have got a program between these two. Elias comes out and he's interrupted by the next addition to the Raw roster. It's Rey Mysterio comes out, beats up Elias pretty good. And then the next addition to the Raw roster comes out, and he is Lars Sullivan, of course. And Lars Sullivan has been on this mission to destroy as many Attitude Era stars as he can get his hands on. It has clearly been the dude's mission in his WWE life right now, is to prove that he's better than all of the old guys, which I think is neat. I actually do think that's really neat, and I don't have a complaint in the world about the way Lars Sullivan is being used on the main roster right now. I hope it blossoms into something bigger. If it doesn't, and he's just kind of always used as this dude that runs in and messes people up and never really gets involved too deeply in any one particular storyline, that might get kind of boring. I do like the idea, though, of supervillains in wrestling, in the sense that we get guys that are more than just heels. They've somehow become worse than that, and they're people who take pleasure out of seeing others in pain and will attack anyone on their way to a match, and eventually somebody has to deal with this person, or eventually they mess with the baby face in a way that now we have to write a program between these two, and you can build up. I like that. So I don't think it needs to always be one-on-one stuff, but I would just like to make sure that hopefully they do use him in that way too, right? Anyway, Chad and Bobby come out. They coax out the next addition to Raw, and that is the Usos. And this is cool because I think that the Raw tag team division got a lot more interesting on this particular evening with the addition of not only Aleister Black and Ricochet, if they're going to continue to be used as a tag team, they were on Raw in the match with the Revival and the War Raiders. Fuck that Viking Experience stuff. I'm not saying that. Pardon my language. I think that's the last F-bomb I'm ever going to drop on the channel. That was the first one. I think it's the last one too. But I'm very upset about it, as you can see. They were in that match. I can't even remember who Aleister and Ricochet were teamed with. I just don't care. That's how much that Viking Experience thing threw me off. Anyway, Usos, they dispatch Chad and Bobby relatively quickly. We get Sami Zayn coming out on the Moment of Bliss, and he cuts a little bit. He comes out and he's playing with the crowd. He gets them all. He's hometown Sami Zayn. He gets them all cheering, and he gets them all screaming, and he gets them all worked up, and then he turns on them and talks about how they all suck, and he doesn't like Montreal anyway, and he's glad he doesn't live there anymore, and or he likes Montreal, but he can't stand the people, and they're why he left, and that the WWE universe is toxic, and he's working great. After riling him up a good 3 or 4 times, and then turning on him, they instantly start chanting for Kevin Owens, and he's like, and you know what? Screw that Kevin Owens guy too. He's just as bad as the rest of you, and it. Sammy's really good at this. A lot of this is textbook, classic, paint by numbers, heel work, but when you're doing it this well, like this well, it doesn't matter that it's old hat, kind of. It's old hat. It's tried and true for a reason. It works. This is good stuff when it's done well. It only comes off as boring when people aren't doing a good job of it. Sammy's doing a great job of it. I'm really glad he's back. And EC3 wants a match. Braun Strowman comes out and just demolishes him. There was never even a bell. And I guess that was supposed to mean that EC3 was on SmackDown now. But that was the ambiguous thing about EC3, Lars Sullivan, Aleister Black, and Ricochet. All of them. It was really ambiguous because they've all just been randomly showing up. Raw, SmackDown for a while now. So it gets confusing as to whether tonight them showing up without them, does that mean that they're on the show now? Like, even the announcers seem kind of like confused about it at a couple times. And so I guess EC3 is on Raw now, which sucks for him. EC3 really should have gone to SmackDown. We get Becky Lynch in a match against Ruby Riott over really quick. And Natty comes out to declare she wants a shot against the women's champion. Lacey Evans comes out and says, you don't deserve a shot against the women's champion. Natty and Lacey have a match for the number one contender for the women's championship. And it's a decent match. I can't complain. At one point in time, Natty has Lacey in a sharpshooter at the center of the ring, and the announcers are like, oh, don't want to be doing that in Montreal, and referencing the Montreal Screwjob or whatever, of course. Natty actually, during her promo, calls herself the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be, and gets booed. She gets her ass booed off, and she's Canadian for saying that in Montreal. And it's to be expected. I think she tries to play off she's really trying right now to play off the Bret Hart thing. And I'm sure Bret wants to do, and it's his niece. And not only his niece, but on top of that, the daughter of, one of his best friends. And presumably, he gets along with his sister too, so probably two of his best friends. But you get my point. Like his love for Natty probably runs pretty deep, and he'll probably do anything to help her out. Use my catchphrase. I'll show up every now and then, and good for him and good for her. I'm not trying to somehow disparage that or something. I'm just saying that it didn't get over. You're not Bret Hart, Natty. No one is. You're Natty Neidhart, and you're good. Neidhart. I always say Neidhart for some reason. Neidhart. You're Natty Neidhart, and you're good at what you do. Just be Natty. So, Lacey wins, though. Lacey wins. And throughout the whole show, they've been hinting at a 6-man tag match between the Boring Boys, the big, bad, boring boys of Raw, Baron Corbin, Bobby Lashley, and Drew McIntyre, who's not really boring, against Seth and Roman, Seth and Roman, and a third man, a mystery third man, right? And we don't really know who the third man is, but we all really know who the third man is. We all know. We called it 2 weeks ago. There was nothing else for him to do on SmackDown. It was time to come to Raw and just tear the house down. AJ Styles, who came out and had a good match with 2 of the top baby faces on Raw and the 3 top heels on Raw. And he got the pin in the match. The crowd kind of lit up when he got tagged in. At this point in time, if you don't know who AJ Styles is, and I don't mean like you watching me, I assume everybody except for maybe my mom, who might be watching this, knows who AJ Styles is. And my mom might even comment on this video. I know who AJ Styles is. Thank you very much. And good for you, Mom, if you do. He's phenomenal. Even though I don't like him. Me and AJ got problems. You need to change your gimmick up, man. Change your look up. You're a dirty Georgia boy. Let that beard get a little scraggly. Listen to some fucking Mastodon. Damn it. That's my second F-bomb. I'm not going to do it again. But AJ, listen to some Mastodon or something. Get a little scraggly. Get a little snarly. And get a little mean. You'll still get over. I'm asking the man to be different than who he is. He's just a little too much Billy Ray Cyrus for me. But he is excellent in the ring. I love that he's in the WWE. I love that he's going to be on Monday Night Raw. I think it is only going to make things better. And the great thing, the greatest thing about working a program with AJ Styles is that AJ Styles is a face who's very good in the ring, but I do not like, and it gives me a reason usually to root for a heel. It's often one of my, like Shinsuke, when he was in the feud with Shinsuke. Oh my God, I was rooting for Shinsuke. Because I don't like AJ Styles, but I got some good matches out of it. It went a little too long, sure, but I got some good matches out of it, and I'm happy. I'm happy that it happened, and it was nice to be able to root for Shinsuke like that, and to see him in that program. So maybe it'll give us. I had a thought, and now I'm kind of regretting it. I don't think he's going to be in a program with Drew McIntyre, right? That's going to be Seth Rollins' job. What if AJ Styles is in a program with Baron Corbin? But it might do wonders for Baron Corbin. There really is that chance. So anyway, that's the Raw after the Superstar Shakeup. Sorry, this video is 13 minutes longer than I usually try to make them, and sorry about the F-bombs. Sorry, YouTube. YouTube doesn't give me any money anyway. Probably never will. But I'm sorry either way, YouTube Dad. All right. See you guys.